Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because if you thought Yandy's miracle recovery was the end of the drama, think again. What if I told you the so-called happy ending is just the opening act to a scandal so jaw-dropping? It makes soap operas look like documentaries. Yeah, that's where we're headed tonight. Picture this. Doctors stunned, fans crying tears of joy, Mendeecees playing the devoted husband on camera. Yet behind closed doors, whispers are growing louder. Secrets, debts, betrayals, all simmering like a pressure cooker ready to blow. And the craziest part? The people closest to Yandy aren't celebrating. They're panicking. Ask yourself, was this miracle really divine intervention? Or was it the spark that lit a family meltdown years in the making? Why is Mendeecees suddenly dropping cryptic comments, avoiding certain questions, and acting like he's carrying a suitcase full of skeletons? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see why this miracle feels less like a blessing and more like the prologue to a very public heartbreak. Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, because tonight we're peeling back the glossy Instagram filters and reality TV smiles to reveal a storm brewing in the house of Yandy and Mendeecees. Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't we just watch Yandy beat the odds, stun the doctors, and rise from the ashes like some phoenix out of a BET movie? Oh, absolutely. But miracles come with receipts, and this one, well, let's just say the bill collectors of truth are knocking at the door. Here's the setup. Yandy Smith Harris, the queen of resilience, the woman who turned every courtroom appearance into a fashion show, suddenly finds herself in the middle of a real-life cliffhanger. And then there's Mendeecees, the man, the myth, the forever in a suit when he should be in court husband, standing by her side, telling cameras how blessed they are. Sweet, right? Wrong. Because behind those teary eyes is a silence so loud it could drown out Times Square. And folks, silence is never golden in this family. It's radioactive. Let's rewind the tape for a second. This isn't the first time Mendeecees and Yandy have danced on the tightrope of scandal. Remember when Mendeecees' business dealings magically transformed into federal charges? Yeah, those real estate investments that prosecutors swore smelled more like a trap house than a townhouse. And who stood by him? Yandy, our ride-or-die queen, walking into court like she was strutting down a runway at Fashion Week, clutching her man's hand like she was holding on to her own reputation. Spoiler alert, she was. And don't even get me started on the Instagram perfect brand they built during all that chaos. While most families would have gone into hiding, Yandy was posting inspirational quotes about loyalty, love, and endurance, while Mendeecees was smiling like he didn't just sign a plea deal. Fans ate it up. Headlines wrote themselves. And in the background, a growing pile of secrets so heavy it could make a preacher curse. Fast forward to today. Yandy defies the odds with a so-called miracle recovery. Doctors whisper words like unbelievable and historic. The blogs celebrate. The hashtags trend. Pray for Yandy becomes blessed with Yandy. And yet, what happens the second the cameras stop rolling? Insiders say Mendeecees isn't pacing the hospital hallways in gratitude. He's pacing because he knows what's coming next. See, anonymous sources, those shadowy figures who always pop up when drama is piping hot, claim this recovery was the trigger for a family implosion years in the making. Whispers of money shuffled under the table, deals cut in back rooms, and feuds so old even grandma stopped keeping score. And now, the miracle everyone cheered for has apparently cracked open Pandora's box. But here's where it gets juicier. According to one insider, who may or may not be a cousin twice removed with access to family barbecues, Mendeecees wasn't exactly faithful during Yandy's darkest hours. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, while the queen was fighting for her life, rumors swirl that the king was fighting temptation in all the wrong places. And if that's true, then those tears at her bedside weren't love. They were guilt dripping down his cheeks like a busted faucet. Now, before you clutch your pearls, let me remind you, this is the same couple who once staged an on-camera wedding for love and hip-hop that wasn't even legally binding. Yep, you heard that right. The vows were real, the dress was real, but the paperwork? Non-existent. Why? Because Mendeecees had too many legal skeletons rattling in his closet to sign his name on a dotted line without risking the whole castle tumbling down. So if they could fake a marriage for ratings, why wouldn't they fake smiles now? And don't think the public hasn't noticed. Social media is buzzing like a hornet's nest. Fans who once cried tears of joy for Yandy are now asking hard questions. Why does Mendeecees look like he's hiding something? Why did that cousin suddenly unfollow Yandy on Instagram? And why does every miracle in this family come with a side order of chaos? Meanwhile, the press is circling like vultures over fresh roadkill. Tabloids are hinting at explosive revelations. Bloggers are piecing together timelines like amateur detectives. And somewhere in the middle, Yandy is either blissfully unaware or carefully crafting the next chapter of this reality saga. Because make no mistake, this isn't just life for them. It's content. And content, my friends, pays the bills. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Money. Cold, hard, green cash. Because insiders swear that Yandy's medical miracle wasn't just a test of faith. It was a financial earthquake. Hospital bills stacking higher than their Brooklyn brownstone. Business deals paused. Sponsorships dangling by a thread. And with every passing day, pressure mounting on Mendeecees to find creative solutions. And we all know what happens when this man starts getting creative. Federal indictments, anyone? So here we are. A miracle that was supposed to heal has apparently cracked the family wide open. Yandy glowing on the outside, but allegedly crumbling on the inside. Mendeecees smiling for the cameras while whispers paint him as the villain of the piece. And a family that once branded themselves as unshakable now looks shakier than a Jenga tower at a toddler's birthday party. The question is no longer, will Yandy recover? She did. The real question, the one that keeps the streets talking and the blogs posting, is, what's going to survive this so-called miracle? The marriage? The money? The reputation? Or are we about to witness the biggest crash and burn saga reality TV has ever seen? Because, ladies and gentlemen, when miracles turn into heartbreaks, the fallout isn't just medical. It's personal, financial, and oh so deliciously scandalous. And we're only scratching the surface. Ladies and gentlemen, the cracks have widened. If part one was the setup, then welcome to the breakdown. Because now the whispers have turned into full-blown accusations. And the so-called miracle recovery has mutated into a circus of leaked reports, anonymous sources, and fans who suddenly think they're CSI investigators with Wi-Fi. Here's the tea, hot and messy. According to leaked documents floating around faster than memes on Twitter, Yandy's hospital bills weren't just high, they were astronomical. We're talking numbers so outrageous Jeff Bezos would have raised an eyebrow. But here's the kicker. Instead of quietly paying the bills like any responsible family, the Harris household allegedly shuffled money around in ways that scream shady. Think offshore accounts, think mysterious consulting fees, think deposits showing up in names no one can trace. Suddenly, the miracle doesn't look like divine intervention. It looks like financial desperation wearing a lab coat. And the streets? Oh, they're eating it up. One viral tweet reads, Yandy didn't rise from the ashes. She rose from Mendeecees' offshore slush fund. Another, if miracles cost this much, I'll stick to Advil and prayer candles, thanks. Brutal? Yes. Entertaining? Absolutely. But let's not stop there, because the anonymous sources keep multiplying like rabbits. One source, allegedly a nurse who overheard everything, claims Mendeecees spent more time on his phone in the hospital hallway than by Yandy's side. Who was he texting? According to whispers, it wasn't just family updates. It was women with names that conveniently don't appear on his contacts list. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, while the world was hashtagging 9pray for Yandy, Mendeecees might have been sliding into DMs. If that doesn't make you choke on your popcorn, nothing will. Meanwhile, fans have turned Instagram into a courtroom. Every smile from Yandy is dissected. Every side-eye from Mendeecees becomes evidence. And every unfollow sparks conspiracy theories. Did you catch when Yandy's sister liked a shady post about snakes in your own family? Screenshots don't lie, and the internet never forgets. But the juiciest twist comes from a so-called family insider who claims that Yandy's recovery was fast-tracked not by medicine, but by money. According to this whistleblower, the family allegedly pulled strings with high-profile doctors, cutting deals for miracle treatments that only the 1%ers even hear about. Translation: Yandy didn't just get better. She allegedly skipped the line, greased the wheels, and turned her hospital stay into VIP bottle service. And while fans cheered, the insiders whispered, "At what cost?" Whispered, "At what cost?" And here's where the story goes nuclear. Buried in these leaks is talk of a family trust fund, a trust that was supposed to protect the kids' futures. But according to the whispers, Chunks of that trust might have been liquidated to pay for Yandy's miracle. Picture that. College funds drained. Piggy banks cracked open, all for one last roll of the dice to keep the queen alive. Noble? Maybe. Shady? Definitely. And now the whispers say the family elders are furious. Imagine Grandma banging on the table at Sunday dinner. You took the kids' future for a miracle that came with a scandal? That, my friends, is the definition of messy. Of course, no scandal is complete without a sprinkle of celebrity drama. Enter the frenemies. Former co-stars from Love and Hip Hop have suddenly found their voices, dropping cryptic Instagram stories that fans swear are aimed at Yandy and Mendeecees. One post read, "Miracles don't erase karma." Another, "Funny how people pretend to be blessed when they're really just broke. The shade could block the sun." And fans, they're screen recording everything, stitching it into TikToks, and making this scandal trend faster than a Nicki versus Cardi beef. But what about the Harris kids, you ask? Well, here's where the heartstrings get pulled. According to another anonymous family friend, the children are confused and upset. They've allegedly overheard arguments about money, loyalty, and betrayal. One child even asked, "Why is Daddy always mad when Mommy smiles?" Ouch. That's not just a scandal. That's trauma served raw. And when kids get dragged into the mess, public sympathy skyrockets while reputations nosedive. Let's also talk about the fans who once idolized Yandy as the strong, unshakable matriarch. Those same fans are now questioning if the image was all smoke and mirrors. Think about it. How many times did Yandy post about loyalty over everything? How many times did she lecture her castmates about being real? And yet, here she is, allegedly surrounded by fake smiles, shady bank accounts, and a husband who may or may not be starring in his own late-night soap opera. The hypocrisy writes itself, and the audience is no longer clapping. They're booing. Now, to keep things balanced, because every scandal needs a plot twist, let's address the defenders. Yandy still has die-hard fans who insist this is nothing but media fabrication. They argue, "Of course she got special treatment. She's a public figure. Of course money was involved. Healthcare isn't free. Of course Mendeecees was stressed. He's carrying the family." Fair points, sure. But defenders don't trend. Accusations do. And right now, the accusations are drowning out the defenses like a marching band at a library. Let me paint the picture for you. Imagine Yandy smiling in a hospital gown, surrounded by balloons and flowers. While just outside the frame, Mendeecees is furiously typing into his phone. The family accountant is panicking over drained accounts, and cousins are trading whispers like Pokemon cards. That's not a miracle. That's a Netflix documentary waiting to happen. And while the fans eat it up, the bigger question looms. How much longer can this family juggle secrets before the whole act collapses? Because the internet is relentless, and once the wolves smell blood, they don't stop until the bones are picked clean. Right now, Yandy and Mendeecees aren't just fighting for their family, they're fighting for their brand. And in 2025, brand is everything. So what do we have? A miracle wrapped in scandal, a husband wrapped in suspicion, and a family wrapped in chaos. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just the breakdown. The real storm is still on the horizon. Because while fans speculate and insiders whisper, the powers that be, the law, the banks, the institutions, are starting to pay attention. And when they get involved, oh, you haven't seen messy yet. Ladies and gentlemen, if you thought the breakdown was juicy, then buckle up, because now we're diving into the fallout. And trust me, this is the part where the family secrets don't just explode. They mushroom cloud across the entire internet, leaving nothing but memes, lawsuits, and broken reputations in their wake. So, what happens when a miracle morphs into a scandal and the whispers grow too loud to ignore? Consequences. The kind that leave reality stars scrambling, lawyers cashing checks, and fans foaming at the mouth for updates. Let's get into it. First up, the legal angle. Remember those whispers about shady money transfers, drained trust funds, and mysterious consulting fees? Well, according to the grapevine, certain government agencies have started sniffing around. Rumor has it that the IRS, the Department of Health, and maybe even a couple of alphabet soup agencies we've never heard of are circling like sharks. Anonymous insiders claim subpoenas have already been drafted, targeting everything from Yandy's endorsement deals to Mendeecees' so-called community projects. If true, this isn't just family drama, it's a federal investigation waiting to be televised. And speaking of television, imagine the ratings. Court TV executives are probably salivating at the thought of The People versus the Harris family. Who needs scripted drama when reality stars can provide the chaos for free? But the legal woes don't stop there. Insiders whisper that a couple of Yandy's former business partners are preparing lawsuits, claiming unpaid debts and shady contracts. One ex-partner even told a gossip blog, "I knew the miracle was too good to be true. The real miracle will be if they survive this lawsuit." Savage, but effective. And the fans? They're already photoshopping Yandy's hospital gown into an orange jumpsuit. The internet is undefeated. Now, let's talk about the family dynamics. Because if the lawsuits don't break them, the in-house feuds might. Word on the street is that Yandy's relatives are furious about the alleged trust fund fiasco. Aunties are reportedly threatening to go public. Cousins are airing grievances on Facebook Lives. And one uncle is said to be shopping around a tell-all book proposal with the working title, "Behind the Miracle, the Truth They Don't Want You to Know." You can't make this up. And poor Mendeecees. He's cracking under the pressure. At least that's what anonymous hospital staffers claim. They say he's been pacing like a man on trial, mumbling to himself, dodging phone calls, and, get this, Googling countries with no extradition treaties. Is it true? Who knows? But in the world of scandal, perception is reality. And right now, the perception is screaming, flight risk. Meanwhile, Yandy herself is caught in the eye of the storm. On camera, she's still flashing that trademark smile, posting inspirational captions like, "What God has for me, no man can take away." But behind closed doors, insiders say she's furious, paranoid, and planning her own exclusive tell-all interview to control the narrative. Because if there's one thing Yandy has always understood, it's that in showbiz, the first one to tell their side usually wins. Unless, of course, the other side has receipts. And receipts? Oh, they're piling up! Screenshots, emails, bank slips, floating around the internet like confetti at a scandal parade. Fans are playing detective, stitching together TikToks that claim to prove Mendeecees was cheating, prove the miracle was bought, and prove that the family empire is on the verge of collapse. Some of these TikToks are so convincing, even conspiracy theorists are taking notes. But let's zoom out. Beyond the family feuds and the lawsuits, the bigger fallout is cultural. See, Yandy and Mendeecees weren't just reality stars. They branded themselves as a power couple, as the blueprint for resilience, as the proof that love could survive prison sentences, indictments, and public humiliation. And now, that brand is collapsing faster than a cheap wig in the rain. Fans who once held them up as their relationship goals are now calling them relationship scams. Brands who once lined up for partnerships are quietly backing out. And the industry? Silent, dead silent, because nothing kills a career faster than scandal fatigue. And yet, in the strangest twist of all, the scandal might just make them bigger than ever. Because let's be real, in today's cloud economy, bad press is still press, and chaos is the currency of fame. Every lawsuit becomes a headline, every leaked DM becomes a viral tweet, every teary Instagram live becomes a spectacle. The Harris family might be imploding, but the internet is hooked. And in 2025, hooked means monetized. So what comes next? Well, if the whispers are true, we could see a federal probe into the finances, a custody battle over the kids, a reality show spin-off literally called The Fallout, and maybe, just maybe, a tell-all documentary with more drama than the Love and Hip Hop reunion specials combined. Because at the end of the day, scandals like this don't end, they evolve. And this one is evolving into a saga that could define reality TV for the next decade. But here's the question I'll leave you with. Is this truly the end of Yandy and Mendeecees as the reality TV royalty they claim to be? Or is it just the beginning of their most profitable storyline yet? Because let's face it, when miracles turn into heartbreaks, the fallout isn't just tragic, it's lucrative. Tragic, it's lucrative. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the truth they don't want you to hear. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we leave the Harris family dangling on the edge of their own cliffhanger. A miracle recovery turned heartbreak. A husband breaking silence with more questions than answers. And family secrets spilling out like receipts at a tax audit. The story practically writes itself. But what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. Do you think this miracle was truly divine? Or just another business transaction dressed up as faith? Was Mendeecees the devoted partner we saw in carefully edited clips? Or was he juggling DMs while the world prayed for his wife? And let's be real. How many more skeletons are rattling around in that family closet, just waiting for the next leak to blow the doors wide open? I want to hear from you. Drop your theories, your hot takes, your wildest predictions down in the comments, because if we've learned anything from this saga, it's that the fans often know more than the insiders. And hey, don't just watch, get involved. Smash that like button if you're just as shocked as I am that every miracle in this family comes with a side of chaos. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, because trust me, this story is far from over. When the lawsuits land, when the DMs leak, when the fallout hits, you'll want to be the first to know. Until then, stay skeptical, stay entertained, and remember, in the world of reality stars, the only thing more common than a comeback is a scandal waiting to happen.